it's been good. Like everyone's been taking notice and they've sort of given back to me what I've been trying to give to them. And like I was Jack's main training partner for his last fight, so 8 weeks pretty much in the trenches. It was like I did my own fight camp really. Like I was his main body, so it was great to get that work in. And I've loved my time at Absolute. It's been it's been hard work, but it's been a hell of a reward.
First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner. He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, everyone, welcome back and thank you for joining us here once again on another edition of the Eternal Insiders Podcast, powered by Fight HQ, the official uniform partner for Eternal MMA. We are being joined today by one of the men set to feature next week on that massive double-header card on the Gold Coast. Eternal 90 and Eternal 91 on consecutive days, kicking off on November 29. He's set to feature on the main card of Eternal 90 on the first night. The Friday night, please welcome in Alastair Volders out of Absolute MMA in Melbourne, Victoria. First time on the show, first time competing as a pro for Eternal MMA, so it's a privilege to have him here to talk about it. What did we just work out? We're about 8 days away, man, so we're getting nice and close. How are things feeling mind, body, and spirit as we get closer to this fight?
Yeah, I feel good. Ready to go, obviously. 8 days out, but it's business as usual. I only fought 6 weeks ago at a show here in Melbourne on Rogue. So, had 1 week to let my body recover and then straight back into camp. And before that, I did Janko's camp for the UFC Perth against Herbert Burns. So it's a third one back to back to back. So feeling good, feeling fresh. Looking forward to it and looking forward to having a little holiday afterwards.
I don't doubt it, man. And yeah, you're right. Like that was a pretty quick turnaround. Like you said, was it like 5 weeks or something like that? I'm curious as to how this opportunity kind of came to light. Like you got that fight done. Did you go looking for sort of another fight immediately, or was this just sort of brought to you and you just said, hell yeah, I'm good to go. Let's get another one in.
Yeah, well, I had one fight in March down here, and then I had a pretty big injury, so I didn't get to fight throughout the middle of the year. And then I had obviously the October fight, which was scheduled, and went through everything for that. And I thought, man, 2 fights in 1 year, that's all right, but let's try to get 3. So I just told my coach Simon, if I get through this Rogue one all right without taking too much damage, I'll be ready to go again. And I think 3 days after, I hit him up again, and we organized it and said, Ethan Mitchell accepted, and the dates made sense. So here we are.
I love it, man. Glad to have you on board. Was there much in terms of physical recovery? I didn't actually get a chance to see your last fight, but I did see it at least went to the third round where you got the finish. You're feeling obviously fresh enough, or at least the recovery wasn't too bad to be able to back it up?
No, yeah. I was I wouldn't be here if it was too much, So
you never know sometimes. Sometimes people just like to throw themselves into the fire, so.
Yeah, but you got to be smart about professional career and all that. I'm an athlete, but no, it felt good. I didn't take too much damage. It was more just a high pace for 3 rounds. Really pushed the fitness. If anything, it was just a hard workout and ready to go again.
I love it, man. Now, you, of course, we just mentioned at the top of the show, you train out of Absolute MMA down here in Victoria. I saw over the last few months you have been working pretty closely with Jack Jenkins. Obviously, we know Jack Jenkins is an Absolute MMA boy, our former Eternal MMA featherweight champion, of course. Just in terms of working with a bit closely, just a couple of questions there. Is it maybe in the earlier part of training with Absolute MMA, did you not have as much to do with him as you do now? And if so, with working with him now, what's been the biggest thing for you working with him so closely in terms of your own personal development?
Yeah, definitely. When I first came to the team, I was just just some guy, really. I was the new guy, and no one's really going to let the new guy, the inner circle. But so we continued, hard work, showing up for the team, being there for the team, doing everything that's asked of me, and sort of trying to set my own example for a few of the younger fighters, and being there for the team was the main thing, and just showing up, putting in the work. I've sort of progressed up the hierarchy at Absolute, and I'd say I'm in that sort of leadership circle, approaching that heavy leadership role, and it's been good. Everyone's been taking notice, and they've sort of given back to me what I've been trying to give to them. And I was Jack's main training partner for his last fight, so 8 weeks pretty much in the trenches. It was I did my own fight camp, really. I was his main body, so it was great to get that work in. And I've loved my time at Absolute. It's been it's been hard work, but it's been a hell of a reward.
I mean, you would see sort of firsthand, obviously, if you're one of Jack's main training partners training for a fight upcoming, what's Jack sort of like in those moments? Is a switch sort of flick for him when he goes from just sort of regular training, like when he's sort of preparing a fight? Like I know Jack can be a pretty intense guy as well as a laid-back guy when he's on the golf course and everything, but I know he's obviously got that demon inside when it comes to the fights. What is he like around sort of the training camps?
Yeah, no, you got it right. Like he's pretty, he's just one of the lads outside of the training camp. But no, when we were getting ready for the fight, like especially those like few rounds at sparring night, like I would get so nervous on my way to the gym, like just knowing I was going to like maybe get my ass whooped, maybe, whoop his ass, probably the former. But no, it was good. He really switches on and he goes hard, but he takes care of you. Like he's not there to hurt you, but he is there to get some solid work in. And he was coming off that loss in Sydney off the injury, so I got like the hungry Jack. It was good. I leveled up myself doing that, and I was just happy to be there for him. And seeing him get that win was almost as good as myself winning.
No, rising tide lifts all boats, I believe is the expression, man. So with a bit of the iron sharpening iron there, I imagine you could throw that in there too, especially with a couple of beasts in that gym. I've got Joey Luciano, who I understand that you're quite close to as well. Obviously, guys like Jack Jenkins, that sort of thing. Like, it's just such a well of knowledge, like down there in Absolute MMA. You just mentioned, obviously, you're in the leadership circle there too. Like, I have to imagine you couldn't imagine sort of a better fit for yourself at this point in your career.
Nah, it's perfect. It is perfect. Like, it's something that I visualized and I envisioned for quite a while before even joining Absolute. Like, I sort of set my sights on that team. So, I'm going to go there and I'm going to rise up through that gym and I'm going to be like a big part of that gym and, give back and represent that gym well. And, through, I've been here for about 2 years now and it's like really starting to come to fruition. And I just can't wait to keep, climbing the ladder with the team.
Well, I believe the story goes, and shout out to Mitch Tinley on the Australian MMA podcast where I picked up this little tidbit, but you ended up at Absolute MMA after originally Googling top gyms in Australia, and Absolute was one of the ones at the top of the pile. I think you had your eye on him at some point prior to that as well, but you ultimately ended up down here. I think you were originally born in Victoria, and then you moved up to Queensland, and you ended up coming back down here with your girlfriend, as I understand it, and then started training at Absolute MMA. Was moving back down to Victoria, was that entirely an MMA decision or you just wanted to come home? Like, what sort of factored into you wanting to make the move back down here?
Yeah, so pretty much like, obviously I was born down here. I was born in Carlton Hospital and then was raised up in Brisbane from when I was about 6 to 22. And, my gym up north was great. It gave me good foundations. I got love for those boys there. And every time I'm up there, I stop in and, I say hello to them and all that. But it just wasn't like the place to hit that next level at the time. Like there was a few like issues within the gym. But, I got love for all those boys there. Like I didn't try and like talk bad about that at all. But I just like thought it was my last fight on Eternal, actually the one that I lost against Luke Vidler. That was my last fight with the team there. And then after that fight, like I was getting ready for that dude with like people who I probably shouldn't have been training with. No one really my size, but I was like, whatever, get it done. I copped the loss and then I started to fly over to Thailand just to check it out, have a little bit of a holiday. And I met Simon over there. We got talking. I thought, oh man, like this guy could be my coach for sure. After he whooped my ass. Yeah, he like put me in a bit of a role. But then I got back, I gave him a call and I said, look, I'm seriously thinking about moving down there. And then fast forward about 4 or 5 months of saving up, getting ready, packed all the stuff into my girl's car, 2 cats, all our possessions, and we made the 22-hour road trip down to pretty much join Absolute. Like, I didn't have a job when I came here. I wasn't on the team, just showed up and got it done. And now I got a job and I'm on the team, so it's all good.
Yeah, because you're essentially like working at the gym too, aren't you? I think like you're doing like PTs and that sort of thing. I think you mentioned that you were doing some things with like maybe like some woodworking or something outside of that, but now you're pretty much like you're in the gym at all times, whether you're working or whether you're training. Is that still the case?
Yeah, definitely. I was a woodworker up in Brisbane, like a labourer. Okay. And then when I came down here, I was working like a boxer-sized gym, and I ended up quitting that this year. And now it's pretty much like I only work at Absolute. Like I do a lot of classes, like most nights and some mornings, a lot of like introduction classes and a few like intermediate MMAs and then PTs on the side. Yeah, it's good.
Do you miss the weather up in Queensland, or like what do you sort of don't miss the weather up there?
Nah, the summers are too hot. Like
I'm the
once
same,
you've been there for a while.
Most people like, I love the Queensland weather, sun. I'm like, oh man, I'm not a fan, man. I'll take like,
Yeah, you can't go to sleep without waking up and like sweaty, and it's like you feel like you pissed yourself or something. Like the Melbourne summers are great. Melbourne winters not too good. Queensland summers are great, but yeah, I don't miss it, to be honest.
You're in a singlet now, so it's hot enough,
Yeah.
Nice, man. No, I think you've made the right choice, man. Like, with that group of killers that you've got down here at Absolute MMA, I mean, you're fighting in the featherweight division. We've got the former featherweight champ there, Jack Jenkins, leading the charge. So only good things can certainly come out of that gym. So great to have you home, brother.
Thank you.
We've got this fight coming up, of course, at Eternal 90 on a massive weekend of fights, like 7 fights on each main card across 2 days. So I can imagine it's must be a thrill to be a part of that. But just talking about yourself as a pro, I mean, you're 3-0. All of a sudden, as a pro now, with all finishes, 2 KO wins and a submission, your pro debut too. Can't imagine that you could dream of sort of maybe a better way to start your career, but just curious in your thoughts, like how satisfied are you with the way things have kicked off? And not even just from like the record standpoint, but also like, from a performance standpoint as well.
Yeah, no, I've been real happy with it. Like, to be honest, I feel like there's always room for improvement, and I'm always my own biggest critic. Like, someone might say, "Oh, that was a sick performance." I'm like, "Yeah, there's a few things I could have done better." I feel like that's a good thing, and it might never end until I retire or until I do something like crazy. But
never be really satisfied, right? Like, as soon as you're satisfied with where you're at, that's where you stop growing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like my last fight, it was against Val, who's 3-0, and he was pretty good. And I finished him in the 3rd round, but I was like, oh man, I should have finished him in the 1st round, or like I shouldn't have let him, get me down before I got up, shit like that. But I've been pretty happy with my performances. The result is what we're after, and all the results have been perfect so far. So hopefully we can continue that next Friday.
He's an intense dude, Val Sharapov.
He was.
I don't know if you've ever like met him or had anything to do with him prior to your fight. Anything
nah.
like that? No. Yeah, I've spoken to Val one time, I think a couple of years ago when I first came on board with Eternal, not even the podcast. It was just like for an article or something. Yeah, he's a good dude, but yeah, like he's got this like strange sort of intensity about him. But that's
from the mountains.
That's what it's got to be, man. It's what it's got to be. So, but congratulations on the win, by the way. It sets you up quite nicely for this one against Ethan Mitchell, of course.
Yeah.
This is an opponent or a fighter that we obviously saw recently give a very spirited performance against Taser Malone, one of the Eternal mainstays. I think you were actually booked to face Taser at one point. That didn't come to fruition.
But I was.
He looked good in that fight. I mean, if you looked at it purely from a damage perspective, if you had a group of people that didn't see these two guys in a fight, you'd think that Ethan was the one that came away with the win because Taser looked like shit after the fight. But obviously Taser did enough to put it on him. But, I mean, I think this is kind of a fight that's, I'm not going to go as far as saying it's flying under the radar because a lot of people are very excited about this fight. But in terms of like what you're bringing to the table, like with your heavy hands and your striking and what he's shown in his only pro fight in his career so far, there's a lot to be excited about here. I'm just curious, like, what you're sort of thinking about this fight. Have you had a chance to sort of see enough of Ethan to sort of get a read on what he's about? Like, what do you sort of expect in terms of this matchup?
I'm expecting a good fight. I think Ethan's, a good kid. He's respectful and he shows up to bang. So I got nothing bad to say about him. And he's got an appealing fighting style. He's not like a boring fighter. He's a slick striker. I've watched a little bit of him. Let my coaches study him a little bit. And I got a good game plan for him. But I think the fans will be the real winners in this fight. I think it'll be fireworks, but I'm not going to get my hand raised in exciting and dominating fashion. But I think I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
You hit the nail on the head, man. It's we've all got a lot to look forward to. So much on the main card we've got to look forward to, but this is definitely one that I just think, like, hopefully for yourself, I think in your mind, I don't think anyone ever looks forward to having fight of the night because that means that get your ass kicked just as much as the other guy did. So I'm sure you're looking for an early night as anyone would be.
Performance of the night.
Performance of the night is what you prefer of a fight of the night for sure. So selfishly as fans, we like to see both, but this is going to be a cracker, man. I've got no doubt about it. Whichever way it goes. Like we said, this is your first time competing at least as a pro for Eternal MMA, but you have competed for Eternal, I think 4 times as an amateur. 5 times as an amateur, pardon me. Now, you did, you mentioned your fight against Luke Vidler there earlier, which was, I think, your last amateur loss there. I was just curious, like, in that fight, like, obviously you went on to win your next amateur fight and you started your pro career, like being sort of young and everything and sort of the loss and the way that it sort of happened. There was, talk was an early finish, like what sort of happened. You guys were both sort of thrown back and forth. Did that sort of do anything to shake your confidence at all prior to becoming a pro, or is that something you're able to handle sort of pretty well and be able to move on from it straight away?
Yeah, definitely. Like, so I went 4-1 on Eternal. So that was my only loss on Eternal, like on sort of one of the big shows. Like when it happened, I was pretty devastated. I ain't gonna lie. Like for the next 2 weeks, I was like, "Whoa, damn!" Like that shit sucks. Like, I'd never been KO'd, and in my mind, I was like, I'm never getting KO'd. Like, I am never getting touched, shit like that. Just like too cocky. And then in the fight, like just the environment I was in wasn't really appropriate for that fight. But it's all good. Like, it's all said and done. Like, no stress. I got no regrets at all. But once I came to terms with it, I feel like it was something, I don't want to say like I needed, but it's definitely something that helped. It is what it is. It set me up to start this journey to Absolute. Like, it put me where I am today, like it put me at 3-0 as a pro, it put me at the team, it put me at down to Melbourne, it put me at going to Thailand, sacrificing everything that I had in my life at the time and starting this new life to chase fighting full time. So honestly, I wouldn't change it. No.
And I mean, got to keep in mind too, it's obviously in the amateur ranks there too, right? So you learn.
Yeah, rematch. Where's the rematch? What's he done since? Come on.
Let's tee it up, but maybe it'll happen someday. You never know. But I mean, the main thing is
I wish him all the best, though.
Wish him all the best, unless you get back in the cage with him again and then kick his
Yeah,
ass,
then fuck you.
Exactly right. I love that attitude, brother. No, it's all part of the learning process, and the wins and losses don't necessarily matter at those sort of points. Obviously, the wins matter a hell of a lot more once you get to the pro ranks. And as far as that goes, as we said, undefeated 3-0 at this point in your career with 3 finishes. So not a black mark on your record thus far. We just talk about the featherweight division there too, and we've referenced your teammate Jack Jenkins being our former featherweight champion. It's already got like a really good history in the featherweight division here in Eternal MMA. That's now being ruled over by Freestyle MMA Seb Salai, but of course there's been a couple of belt holders through then. You obviously training with Jack very closely now, and given that his path has been through Eternal MMA now and sort of the UFC, without looking too far past this fight, of course, next weekend, is that sort of a similar path that you maybe hope to carve out for yourself? Would you have your eyes potentially on that Eternal featherweight belt? I know it's your first, pro performance, your first pro outing for Eternal MMA, but would you like to carve out a similar path and maybe look at that belt in your future?
Yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? If it makes dollars, it makes sense. So Eternal putting up big bucks, I'm keen. No, but in all seriousness, I think a good pathway, short, like long term, whatever gets me there, it's going to get me there. And I'm happy to compete on any show. I do think Eternal is pretty good. I've had most of my fights on Eternal. So, I wouldn't mind like keep doing that. But I think a short term pathway for me would be this one, get the win, and then hopefully that February card in Sydney, everyone's watching, put on a banger of a fight with someone there. But if I get this, I feel like I'd definitely be in title contention talks. So I might have to spit some fire in the mic, say some crazy shit. But yeah,
let's get it. So Sydney, you think we get through this one, you have your eyes on Sydney, back it up. I mean, that's still like 3 months away, so that's a good amount of time. So that wouldn't be too hard at all.
Yeah, I think it's 10 weeks, and but I can't look past Ethan at all. Like,
of course,
that's sort of in the back of my mind a little bit. Like, if this goes well, this will be the next step. But I'm not banking any chips on that. I'm not really too focused on that because it ain't even 2025 yet. You know what I'm saying? So all my attention and focus is on next Friday against Ethan, do my thing, and then we can talk.
If you were to bank your chips on anything, mate, how do you think you get the job done?
Well, you have to tune in and find out. But no, I ain't gonna tell you.
That's all right. We just get to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Tune in.
I like it, man. Well, like I said, maybe we get fight of the night, but maybe we get performance of the night for Alastair Volders. Either way, we're in for an absolute treat. I mean, what a way to finish off the year for Eternal MMA. Back-to-back cards, Eternal 90 and Eternal 91. You get to be on the main card for the Friday night opener. It's going to be an absolute huge weekend for mixed martial arts, especially for Eternal MMA. So, as we always say, if you haven't got your tickets yet, make sure you get yourself to eternalmma.com and pick up those tickets. If you're not turning up live and in person, obviously it is live and exclusive on UFC Fight Pass, so make sure you go check that out. While you're at it, go ahead and check out this man's fights on YouTube as well. You can see his performances. The man's got a massive habit of winning in the pro ranks, and he's got some footage there from his Eternal days as an amateur there too. There's a lot to like about young Alastair Volders out of Absolute MMA down here in Melbourne, making the trip up to the Gold Coast, and pleasure to have you here talking for the first time, brother. All the best next weekend.
Thank you.
My pleasure, man. I'm going to see you up there. I'll be up there myself, so all the best, and you get the job done. Come back in here, and we'll talk about how you got the win done.
Yeah, Mad Dog. I'm keen as. Thank you.